Welcome back, students who are taking Math for Business and Finance and Math applications. We're working on the Chapter 12 drill problems, the odd numbered problems, and we finished off with problem 12-5 in the last video, and we're going to work on 12-7. Now, before we get started in working the problem, let's just take a look at what the problem is asking. It says complete the following using the present value table, table 12.3, or the present value table in the Business Math Handbook. Right? So this is where I have to take out a little bit of time and explain about the Business Math Handbook. Okay. The Business Math Handbook is located on your My Courses page. So when you log into your Penn Foster account, go to My Courses, and if you go down to either Math Applications or Math for Business and Finance, you will see a link to the PDF that has the Business Math Handbook. Okay. Now, when you click on the link and you open it up, this is the cover of that handbook. And this handbook is not, it's used for multiple purposes, and it's not in the same format as the tables that you see in the textbook. For example, here's your future value table, and here's your present value table. Okay. These are the tables that you found in your textbook, and across the top you have your interest rates, and down the side you have your number of periods, and then of course all of the factors in between. Okay. And notice that your table goes from 1% to 1.5%, then to 2%, but then it skips and goes to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. You don't get any more of the half percents. Okay. The Business Math Handbook has those half percents. Okay. Now, just as a quick aside, if like you're going between 4 and 5, you can figure out the midpoint between the 4% and the 5% using this table. Okay. But that's doing a lot of math, meaning I'd have to take the 5% is 0.9524. Okay. And my 4% is 0.9615. I'd have to add those together to get a total amount, and then I would divide whatever that total amount by 2 to get my 4.5%. Okay. Now notice I'm doing a lot of that additional math. I mean, you're able to extrapolate, any of the factors with this table, but you have to be doing a lot of additional math, and that's like crazy. Okay, so that's why the Business Math Handbook was provided, because it does give you the tables that are half percentages. Okay, so let me go back down to the front cover here, and like I said, there's this Math Handbook has a lot more in it than just the compounding tables. But if you just flipped open the Business Math Handbook and you tried to find something, you're going to get yourself confused. Okay, because the tables sort of like, one, they look different from what you have in the textbook, and two, it's just a hodgepodge of information. So use the table of contents here in order to determine what it is that you're looking for. For example, for this problem here, for problem 12-7 and 12-9, it says complete the following using present value table 12.3. Well, if I'm looking at my table of contents, I can see that I have compound interest here from pages 1 to 30. And if I go all the way down here, I also see, it says present value right here, okay, from pages 1 to 30. Now, those are lump sums. Don't be confused because you see present value of an annuity, and remember from the previous videos that annuities are going to be covered in the next chapter, but you see they're also on pages 1-30. Okay, so the idea being here is that look at the table of contents and determine what it is you're looking for that you need to use as a table, and then go to that particular page. So in this case here, we want to see a present value. Okay, And this first one is for the lump sum, the second one is for an annuity, but notice that they're both on the same pages 1-30, 1-30, I'm sorry. And on this next slide here, I have a portion of one of those pages. Okay, and this happens to be the 1.5% table. Now, I had said that this table is different from what you see in the textbook. And the reason why you saw in the table of contents the present value and a present value of an annuity being pages 1-30 is because all the information is on this page. Right? For example here, each page has the interest rate. So first of all, if you want to see 1.5%, you're going to find this page. If you wanted 4.5%, you would have to find the page that had 4.5% at the top of it. It's no longer listed as 1%, 1.5%, 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%. Okay, it's not all on one table. This is a cross-reference by the interest rate. Okay, so you first find the page that has the interest rate that you're interested in. In this case here, I'm interested in 1.5%, so I'm looking for that page that has it. Right? The number of periods goes down the side the same way as it did in the tables in the textbook. But now when you look across the top in these columns, what are we looking at? It says here table 12-1, which is a compound value. Okay, that's your future value table. Okay, and then you see it says table 12-3. Well, that's the table I want, and that's my present value. That's the same thing as this table here. My present value of $1. If you notice that for the interest rate of 1.5% for one period, that's 0.9852. If we come down to the table in the Business Math Handbook, it's 0.9852. For the future value in this table, it's 1.0150. And if we go back up to the table in the textbook, at 1.5%, okay, for one period, it's 1.0150. So the information is just arranged differently. That's all. Now it's arranged in a column format, but it's all referenced by your interest rate over here. So you have your future value table in the first one, and make sure that you're looking at table 12-1 or your present value table of 12-3. Now, again, in the next chapter, chapter 13, we're going to be talking about annuities. Okay, so this column is the future value of an annuity, and table 13-1 and table 13-2 is the present value of an annuity. Okay, so these two columns you'll be using in the next chapter. Right? And then also we have a concept of a sinking fund value, which is going to be covered in the next chapter. And so that's an additional column. But the point I'm trying to make here by explaining this visually is that you can use the tables in the textbook, but sometimes the tables in the textbook are not going to have all the information that you're going to need in order to solve the problem, whether it's a homework problem or whether it's an exam problem. Okay, so print out a copy of the Business Math Handbook so that you have that information available to you. Okay, and when you have it, the first thing you do is you determine which, by looking at the front cover, you can quickly say, okay, what is it I'm looking for? Okay, compound interest, meaning future value. If I was looking for a future value, I'd be looking under compound interest, and I know that's pages 1-30. Or if I'm looking at the present value, right, those are also at pages 1-30. And so when I go to the page, I'm looking for, between pages 1-30, I'm looking for the page with the interest rate that I'm interested in. Okay, and remember that's a converted rate. As you'll see in problem 12-7, we're actually going to convert the interest rate, and it's going to be 1.5% is the percentage we're going to need. So you come to the page, okay, then you look down the column for the number of periods, okay, and then determine which column you're going to be using depending upon what the question is asking for. If you're asking for a future value of a lump sum, that's column 1 here. If you're looking for a present value of a lump sum, that's column 2 here. If we end up in chapter 13, or when you're doing a test question, or something like that, and you need the future value of an annuity, you're going to use column 3. Or if you want the present value of an annuity, you're going to use column 4, and a sinking fund in column number 5. So you'll say, okay, I'm at 1.5%. If I need it to be down at 10 periods, well, whatever's on this line, depending upon what it is that you're looking to do, that's going to be the factor that you're going to use. Okay, so that's how we go about using the business math handbook, right? And with that, I'm going to stop, even though we didn't do any of the problems, because we're already at 11 minutes, and I'll just work through problems 12-7 and 12-9, using the business math handbook. Now, just as a warning, like I said, print it out for yourself. I'm not going to print out 30 pages and include 30 slides every time that I need to use the business math handbook. All I'm going to do is just reference it. Okay, I'm going to just, I've been bouncing back and forth between the tables in the book because they are in the book, and those are the ones I use most often. If I have to use the business math handbook, it's not worth it for me. It's not, it takes too much time to be creating a slide for it. I'm just going to end up pulling the factor from it. So get comfortable using the business math handbook, and I will, if you have a question, telephone and speak with an instructor or email us. But I'll see you in the next video to continue working on the drill problems.